I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my homies? What's good? Hope you guys are doing well, doing blessed. It's 2024. It's 2024, guys. Come on. You know what that means? It means the UFC's back. Well, it's not back right now, but I'm making this video because we're gonna be back. We're close to being back. Now, last year, guys, was a really successful year. I finished with a 14% ROI, which is just, it's insanity. Made just short of 20 units profit, and I spent like 110 units, something like that. So yeah, the potency of my betting last year was just, it was insane. It was on a completely different level, a completely different playing field. And all my stats for last year are publicly available on Patreon. You don't need a membership to check all the stats, so you can check that if you want. GOAT stats, check it out. I do currently have 2 bets locked and loaded, and I'm gonna add more. So if you want to be part of the 2024 Money City project, just like last year, be sure to head over to my Patreon and get yourself a Money City membership. The great thing about Money City membership is you make money. You make money. If we're looking at last year, you made money. You don't lose money, you make it. So if you lack money, then be sure to think about that. And it's dirt cheap, like dirt cheap, cheap as chips. And you make money. Put those together. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Alright guys, may we proceed into 2024. May we get to the money. Let's go. Alright, first matchup for 2024. We've got Josh Van taking on Felipe Bunes. Now, for all the hardcore UFC fans, the ones who religiously watch week in, week out, it doesn't matter what main event you've got. For all those people, no one needs to be told just how much of a prospect Josh Van is. We know how good Josh Van appears to be at only 22 years old. He set the record for most significant strikes to the body against Peruvian Kev. His boxing's just really good. And he's tough as nails. Willing to stand in the pocket. He wants to be in the pocket. His constant boxing pressure really highlights the type of boxer that Josh Van is. So far, really impressive. Now guys, Felipe Bunes is the newcomer. He does have more experience than Josh Van, and his 1-2s are nice and long. His calf kicks are quick, powerful, effective. However, I don't expect Felipe Bunes to get better as the fight progresses, whereas Josh Van likes to cook the opponent. He's not just going to the head, he's going to the body, putting money in the bank. Obviously he's only 22 years old, so there's a lot of time to get better. Nowhere near his prime. But I still like the work he's putting in against fighters who have more experience. He cooked Peruvian Kev, cooked him. He outboxed Nicolau. So give me Josh Van with a KO, TKO and over 1.5. Moving into a matchup between Tom Nolan taking on Nicolas Motta. Now guys, here's the thing. Being a mixed martial artist isn't easy, right? Essentially it's hunt or get hunted, kill or be killed, get paid or get dusted. It's a tough game, it's a cold game. And unfortunately for Nicolas Motta, this guy just hasn't got it at the highest level. His work has been fairly unimpressive, and that's mainly because he's a boxer just looking to counterpunch. His calf kick defense, it's no bueno. And he also doesn't have the physical advantages in this matchup, and his performance against Trey Ogden was abysmal. The fact that Trey Ogden, a jiu-jitsu fighter, is throwing the jab, and the jab's not getting countered, it's landing flush. It's kind of embarrassing. Now Tom Nolan essentially dusted his opponent on the contender, so we didn't really get to see too much. But what we do know about Tom Nolan is he's got more weapons than Nicolas Motta. And he's going to cause major problems for Nicolas Motta with the range. He'll be able to find the target from a further distance than Nicolas Motta wants. And Nicolas Motta knows that too. It's just about closing the range and staying in a range that better suits Nicolas Motta. But like I said earlier, Nicolas Motta's more of a counter-puncher. So guys, if Nicolas Motta couldn't counter the repetitive jab of a jiu-jitsu fighter Trey Ogden, I think he's going to have a nightmare against Tom Nolan. Give me Tom Nolan with a big KO stoppage, maybe a head kick, maybe a body kick. And also, if Nicolas Motta does lose, it's going to be more unimpressive work to add to the pile of unimpressive work, which means he's probably going to look for work outside of the UFC. But yeah, give me Tom Nolan round 1 or round 2 of a big KO stoppage. Alright, moving into a matchup between Westin Wilson taking on Silva. Now guys, I'm not entirely sure why Westin Wilson's in the UFC. I believe he's a training partner of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, so he's a karate player. But that just means he's going to get knocked dead. So give me Silva. The dude's got heavy hands, and I just think he's going to walk forward until he essentially breaks the jaw of Westin Wilson. And like I said, he's a karate player, so that just means he's going to get dusted. I've said it before, and a lot of people disagreed. Karate doesn't work. Unless you're Wonder Boy. Unless you're George St. Pierre. Okay, there's a couple people. You know, there's a few people, but for the most part, karate doesn't work. And I think it doesn't work against Silva. Moving into a matchup between Farid Basharat taking on Taylor Lapilus. Excellent matchmaking. Really good matchmaking. Now guys, earlier on at the start of the breakdown, I mentioned that hardcore UFC fans don't really need to be told about Josh Van. And it's the exact same thing for Javid Basharat and Farid Basharat, the Basharat brothers. It's the same thing. Both Javid and Farid Basharat are young, exciting, excellent prospects. And I'm still not sure who's better. Who's the better Basharat? So the obvious prediction does seem to be Farid Basharat. His cardio's good, the output, the grappling, the IQ. Guys, all of Farid Basharat's game does seem to be put together pretty well. Although there's not much power to his punches. You don't really need KO power. It's not something you need. But obviously landing with power does make the strike more impactful. And the strikes that are most impactful do create the most damage. And damage is the `1 scoring criteria. But again, you don't need power if you're not there to get hit. You don't need power if you can grapple. And those are two things that Farid Basharat is pretty good at. He moves his feet, the cardio's good, he can grapple, he's not there to get knocked dead. His game doesn't revolve around power. But guys, here's the thing. Taylor Lapilus is also pretty good. He's pretty composed. He's technically good. The takedown defense is good. I don't think many people are going to side with Taylor Lapilus, but I'm going to be one of them. So far, I've not picked against Javid Basharat or Farid Basharat, but I've got a feeling that Taylor Lapilus could potentially upset Farid Basharat. Moving into a matchup between Marcus McGhee taking on Gaston Bolanos. Guys, this fight's very good. Very, very good. Obviously, the name value of the matchup doesn't alert you that it's a sick matchup, but don't worry about the name value. You put Marcus McGhee against Gaston Bolanos, trust me, you get blood, you get violence, you potentially get a stoppage. Now, Marcus McGhee has power. What he did to JP Bays was light work, really light work. He just waited a couple minutes for a nice opening, then bang, dusted. Now, Bolanos doesn't have a glass jaw like JP Bays, so more than likely it's going to take more than one clean strike. You know, it's going to take more than one. And McGhee knows that too. He knows Gaston's going to be ready for a war. And that's why I'm saying this matchup's a sick fight. Now guys, Gaston Bolanos does have some nice Muay Thai techniques. If you look at his Muay Thai, it's nice and clean, technically good. But one thing I did notice is there's not a whole lot of speed to the Muay Thai kicks. And speed is a devastating thing. You know, a lot of people get hyped over a fighter's power. But guys, speed kills. The punches that hurt the most will always be the punches you don't see. And when you're super fast, that's the real damage right there. And I don't really see that with Gaston Bolanos. I do see the technique. I see the way he's putting the technique together. You know, the Muay Thai kicks go with the boxing. I like the way he chains it together. I like that. But what I like most is when a fighter puts nasty intentions into the technique. And guys, I've said this on my channel before, and I'll probably say it like 50 more times before I stop making breakdown videos. When you go to the gym, now is the time to focus on the technicality. Sure, you might have some nice wars with your favourite training partners, you might have some nice battles, some good sparring sessions, but your focus should be on the technique, you know, getting the technicality better. Now when you go to the cage, now is the time to take your evolved technique and essentially put violent intentions into that technique. The best fighters in the world are the ones who can deliver those techniques with fight-ending intentions. And a big part of achieving that sequence would be speed. Because if you deliver that technique with speed, you make the impact greater, you make the damage greater, you make the opponent think twice. I don't see speed with Gaston. I see excellent technique that could have nastier intentions. However, when I look at Marcus McGhee, I see speed, I see intentions, I see violence. And that's going to be the main reason as to why I take Marcus McGhee to win the matchup. Like I said, Gaston hasn't got a glass jaw like JP Bays. It's going to be more of a war. It's not going to be land one clean shot and the fight's done. It's not that. But like I said, Gaston's not really got the speed or the nasty intentions to finish the fight. So yeah, my prediction is going to be Marcus McGhee to potentially find a stoppage. Or this could just be a 15-minute barn burner. Either way, I'm going to side with Marcus McGhee. Now guys, moving into a matchup between Semelsberger taking on Preston Parsons. I really like this fight. I really like it, and I do have action on this matchup. So I guess I'm giving away a free bet by saying that. And that's alright. Hopefully my breakdown and prediction is good for anyone that follows my free bet. And of course, if you want the other bets that I'm making, be sure to get yourself a Money City membership on my Patreon. Now first, let's speak about Matthew Semelsberger. Now Matt Semelsberger is by no means perfect. That's the first thing I want to say about Matt Semelsberger. Now the real problem with Matt is his cardio is kind of bad. His mental toughness is kind of bad, and his ability to stay in control of a matchup that he's already in control of is also pretty bad. And the two main reasons as to why that is, like I said, the lungs start to feel heavy, starts to get tired. And as that's happening, it's almost like he accepts the fight slipping away from him. So that's the real problem with Matt Semelsberger. However, guys, Matt Semelsberger does hit pretty hard. His straight punches are going to be the most effective weapons in this specific matchup, and we'll get to the reasons as to why that is. But yeah, Matt Semelsberger, you know, his record could be much better than what it currently is. And I'll tell you, it's quite important for Matt Semelsberger to really focus on his weak points, because if he doesn't focus on his weak points, he may find himself continuing this losing streak, and he could find himself getting cut from the UFC. And in my opinion, Matt Semelsberger is good enough to fight in the UFC. So yeah, improving those weak points is really important at the moment, right now, for Matt Semelsberger. Now guys, the opponent, Preston Parsons, a fighter that pushes a pace, stays in your face, and essentially wants to get you to the mat. He just pushes a pace, and even if Preston Parsons starts to fatigue, he just stays persistent with his pressure. However, there's a couple problems in the game of Preston Parsons. Now guys, the first major problem that I'm noticing is his guard is horrible. It's open, it's weak. His guard is there to be exploited. And the punches, the straight punches, the jab, the straight right, the 1-2, just go straight down the barrel against Preston Parsons, and the chin will be a magnet for the 4-ounce glove. And the second major problem is going to be when Preston Parsons fatigues, the explosiveness just disappears. Now you've got a defensively bad fighter that's struggling to be effective offensively. And of course, the only way to score points in mixed martial arts is to be offensive. You don't get points for your defensive work. And that's not to say that Preston Parsons has good defensive work. He doesn't. His guard is horrible. He's defensively bad. And when he fatigues, he becomes offensively bad. So give me one unit on Matt Semelsberger to KO TKO Preston Parsons inside the first 10 minutes. Moving into a matchup between Andrei Arlovski taking on Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Now, it's my opinion, and probably quite a lot of other people's opinion, that Andrei Arlovski, an absolute dinosaur, shouldn't be competing in mixed martial arts anymore. Considering he's 44 years old, got knocked out by Don'Tale Mayes, and of course, getting knocked out by Don'Tale Mayes is like one of the most embarrassing things ever. So if Arlovski has a dusty glass jaw and he's 44, probably shouldn't be in there anymore. However, if Arlovski goes in there and wins, what do I know? He's proven me wrong. May the 44-year-old former champion continue to fight. Now, there is two glaring weaknesses in the game of Salsa Boy. Firstly, his calf kick defense is really bad. So if you know a thing or two about Muay Thai, you just go to calf kick city. You just blast the calf kicks. But guys, here's the thing. Arlovski's not a world-class Muay Thai striker, so he's not going to land those calf kicks over and over the way he's got to. And the second weakness would be the grappling, the wrestling. Again, Arlovski doesn't have the cardio to grapple or to clinch up or to really implement some jiu-jitsu. And that's a weakness of Acosta. It's either calf kicks or grappling. If you can't do either of those things, you're not going to be able to exploit his weakness. So because of that, the former champion isn't going to be able to exploit the weakness. So now what do we have? We've got a boxing matchup, a boxing contest. And in that boxing contest, I see Salsa. I see complete dusteration of Arlovski's already dusted 44-year-old chin. Give me Acosta via KO TKO. It could be early, it could be late, but I do see Arlovski getting dusted. If you waited to smoke with me, amen. You've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, you know what's up already in 2024. It's a triple amen. Now guys, on the first smoke break of 2024, I want to wish all of us a great year. And guys, last year was sick. It was so sick. Not just in terms of content and gambling, but in many ways, last year was so good. And if 2024 can be better, that would be so sick. And guys, Kobe wore 24. Kobe wore 24, bro. It's now 2024. My birthday is 24. I mess with 24. I really think 2024 is it. It's going to be a sick year. May we all crush. 2024. Alright, let's go. Alright guys, Phil Hawes taking on Bruno Ferreira. Banger. Banger, banger, banger. Now Phil Hawes can crack. His left kick, his lead hook, all of his techniques are used with real violent intentions. And Bruno Ferreira only knows how to win one way, and that's by KO. I bet against Bruno Ferreira with Raziboev being nearly plus 200. And I also picked Phil Hawes to get dusted by Alaskerov and Roman Dolidze also as an underdog. Now guys, Phil Hawes may go to sleep. Bruno Ferreira may go to sleep. Anybody can go night-night in a fight like this, and fight nights are always lit when you've got that banger versus banger matchup. More than likely somebody goes night-night. Somebody goes and visits Ben Askren deep in the land of Shadow City, but who's that going to be? Who goes night-night? Personally, I'm not going to bet this fight, but I am going to side with Bruno Ferreira to potentially find my target first. Someone's going to find the snooze button. Someone's getting dusted. But I think it's the type of matchup you put your feet up, you spark up. Unless you want to go on a roller coaster. And trust me, the roller coaster can stop at any given connection. It could be inside the first 60 seconds or it can be in the first 60 seconds of round 2. The roller coaster will stop at any given moment. Just watch the connection. Both these guys can crack. Both these guys have serious KO power. But for me, I'm going to side with Bruno Ferreira. Moving into a matchup between Ricky Simón taking on Mario Bautista. What a matchup. And it's a really difficult fight to think about because Ricky Simón is so good at a couple things. And a couple things that Ricky Simón's really good at, it makes him difficult for literally anybody to compete against. Even Song, who dusted Ricky Simón. I took Song as an underdog. Even for Song, it's not an easy fight because the preparation, the work you have to put in to be able to compete with Ricky Simón, it's really tough work. To anybody who gets a win over Ricky Simón, trust and believe it's a well-deserved win. Now guys, what is Ricky Simón really good at? His cardio is outstanding. His wrestling, the ability to get takedowns, the ability to dominate you on the mat. His ground control is just monstrous. He's a monster. He's a beast. Now what is the weakness of Ricky Simón? Defensively, he's not too good, and that's because he's always pressing the action, always walking forward, so he'll kind of walk himself right into the techniques of the opponent. But if Ricky Simón didn't push a pace, and he wasn't always walking forward, then he wouldn't be Ricky Simón. Sure, he may walk himself into your strikes, but that's really where you've got to take advantage of Ricky Simón, because if you don't clip him and win rounds by exploiting his bad defense, if you don't do that, more than likely you've been glued to the fence, you've been glued to the mat, your cardio's starting to turn to dust from all the wrestling and grappling. You're finding yourself in Ricky Simón's world, and trust me, you don't want to be in the world of Ricky Simón. The guy's a monster, an absolute beast, relentless. Now guys, Mario Bautista has excellent boxing. His ability to box is on a higher level than Ricky Simón's boxing. Ricky doesn't even have elite boxing, it's just his constant pressure that breaks the opponent. Put it this way, Ricky Simón is what Preston Parsons wants to be. Same thing, same game, but Ricky's actually good. Now Mario Bautista did have trouble against Damon Blackshear, and Damon Blackshear has bad cardio, whereas Ricky Simón has monster level cardio. I think, you know, the logic kind of points to Mario Bautista having a difficult fight, potentially losing the fight, but something tells me to still side with the underdog. You gotta be a dog to beat Ricky Simón. There's going to be times where Mario Bautista has to get off the fence, has to work back to the feet by using the fence, and then defending the chain wrestling. It's going to be such a difficult matchup for Mario Bautista, but give me the underdog. I don't feel great picking against Ricky Simón, but Mario Bautista's been cashing me tickets, and so has Ricky Simón. Even took Ricky against Jack Shore as an underdog. I think both Ricky Simón and Mario Bautista are just excellent bantamweights, really good bantamweights, but I'm going to take the underdog, Mario Bautista. Alright, moving into a matchup between Jim Miller taking on Gabriel Benitez. Man, veteran versus veteran. Everybody loves Jim Miller. All the homies love Jim Miller. Show me one person that doesn't respect the work of Jim Miller. You know, show me one. Impossible. You won't find them. And if you do find them, they're probably like a Scientologist or something like that, so their opinion doesn't even count. Now guys, Jim Miller does have the grappling advantage in this fight. His ability to play jiu-jitsu is super live, and that's not implying that he's outgunned on the feet. Trust and believe old boy Jim Miller will stand and trade with just about anyone on the planet. Jim Miller's a true fighter, and he's going to throw down this weekend. However, he did receive a lot of damage against Alex Hernandez. His skull was essentially used as a speedball, just getting jabbed all over the place. He didn't take any damage in his most recent fight because he dusted Jesse Butler, and that's Jimmy Butler's white stepbrother. Jim Miller slumped that dude. He slumped him into another galaxy far, far away, and you love to see it. Now guys, Gabriel Benitez is a fighter you can't sleep on. This guy can throw the body kicks beautifully. He can box. He's super tough. He knows what he's doing. And I'm interested to see the performance of both these guys this weekend, because really you don't want to be the loser in this matchup. The loser is essentially getting pushed one step closer to retirement. And of course you can make the case that both Benitez and Jim Miller are close to retirement. But you just don't want to be the loser, because if you're Jim Miller, you then go into UFC 300 with a loss. And if you're Gabriel Benitez, you know it's a sign that if you're losing to Jim Miller, that you're not going to do well against the younger guys. I think this fight means a lot for both. You know, it's one of those fights where both of them can't lose. But there does have to be a loser. That's what's fun. That's what's fun about the matchup. There's got to be a loser. There's got to be a winner. For me personally, I'm going to side with Gabriel Benitez. I wouldn't be shocked to be wrong, because Jim Miller's a G. He's won 4 of his last 5. He is old, but he's gold. That's what they say, old but gold. But his cardio can kind of turn to dust. It may not against Gabriel Benitez, but I'm interested to see. This is a good matchup. Give me Gabriel Benitez. Moving into the co-main event, we've got Manel Kape taking on Nicolau. I would say absolutely this is a necessary rematch. It's a fight you can do again, because the first fight arguably got scored incorrectly. Secondly, Manel Kape has got much better. If you look at the main weakness of Manel Kape earlier in his UFC career, it was being gun shy. He didn't really pull the trigger as much as what he should have. But if you look at Manel Kape now, he's really finding his feet, pulling the trigger often, finding the target often, putting in slick performances. So to get the chance this weekend to fight somebody that apparently beat you over 15 minutes, to get the chance to rewrite the script and propel yourself up the rankings closer to gold, it's a massive opportunity. And I'm sure it's an opportunity that Manel Kape has been thinking about all through Christmas and the New Year. Now Nicolau is coming off a KO loss to Brandon Royval, which is really surprising considering Brandon Royval doesn't really have KO power. But then again, it was the timing and the speed of the technique that really got it done. But here's the thing, Manel Kape has excellent timing. Manel Kape is pulling the trigger, he's finding the target. And I just can't see Nicolau finding anywhere near as much success in this rematch than he did in the previous fight. Manel Kape isn't going to respect Nicolau as much as what he did in their first fight, and that's essentially the reason why I think Manel Kape leaves no question unanswered this time round. I don't see the judges being doubtful of the Manel Kape performance, and we may not even need the judges this time round. So give me the star boy, Manel Kape. Moving into the main event, we've got Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. This wouldn't be the first main event of 2024 if the doctor didn't randomly stop this fight for no reason whatsoever. But now it's the first main event of 2024, so the fact we got robbed of this fight earlier was kinda a good thing, because now we've got an extra 10 minutes. Now Magomed Ankalaev is a monster, we all know that. His striking is dangerous, his grappling is dangerous, his ability to compete on the feet or the mat is clear to see. An absolute monster. So Johnny Walker has to fight smart. And it's fair to say that Johnny Walker has definitely evolved as a fighter. He doesn't just randomly spin anymore. He doesn't do crazy stuff anymore. And of course, that's what everyone loves about Johnny Walker. We see this crazy dude just spinning and knocking fighters dead with jump knees, all this crazy stuff. We all get excited by that. But in recent years, Johnny Walker's become way more traditional. He's respecting the opposition much more, and you see that in the traditional style that he's starting to adopt. He's more likely to focus on calf kicks now. He's more likely to focus on his feints, setting up the opponent, but not always to spin or to jump. He'll set them up with some feints just to keep them guessing. He's more likely to move his feet now and focus on defense. He's just a fighter that's clearly improved. And last year made me some money against Anthony Smith and Paul Craig. I really like the evolution in Johnny Walker's game. However, Magomed Ankalaev, like I said, he's a monster. And I'd have to side with the monster. So give me Magomed Ankalaev to find a stoppage, potentially in the middle of the fight. The one way I think Johnny Walker could win is by focusing on calf kicks. But I think midway into round 2, Johnny Walker's going to start to fatigue both physically and mentally. And at that point, I think the best fighters in the world start to show you the door. You know, they sense the fatigue, they smell blood, they stopped the fight. And I do believe Ankalaev is one of the best fighters in the world. So I think more than not, he would show the door to Johnny Walker in this main event. So give me Magomed Ankalaev via KO TKO at some point. As always, guys, let me know you're taking in the main event, the co-main event, your money city bets, your straight bets, your parlays, all that good stuff. And as always, keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.